All right, let's talk about the British version of this idea that came in New Zealand. Deborah Arnott joins us, Chief Executive of the campaign group Action on Smoking and Health, as does Albie Amankona, Conservative commentator, financial analyst. Albie, you've got doubts about this, I gather.
Yes, I've got profound doubts about it. I just want to pick up on the last point which was made, which was about the cost of smoking to society and on public services. Now, the tax which is generated from tobacco sales in the United Kingdom is about £10 billion. You're buying a packet of cigarettes nowadays for anything between £14 and £17. The bill of materials on a packet of cigarettes is probably a couple of pounds, probably less than that. It's just paper, tobacco and cardboard for the packaging. The idea that smoking costs more for public services than it raises in taxes is outrageous. Now, I am a libertarian, actually, but I do also believe that smoking rates should be coming down. But this policy takes it too far. Prohibition has not worked anywhere in the world. It didn't work in America when they had a prohibition on alcohol. The worldwide prohibition on drugs has not worked. The prohibition on the sale of cigarettes to under 18s hasn't worked. And the idea that by banning cigarettes for anyone over a certain age or born after a certain year is for the birds, and it's just going to create a black market.
Deborah Arnott, what do you think?
Well, just so wrong.
What was wrong about it?
For a start, the cost to public finances, never mind to society as a whole, 10 billion in taxes, but the cost in terms of NHS, social care, social security, lost taxes because people can't work, is 21 billion a year. And the idea that raising the age to 18 didn't work, well, it reduced smoking rates in young people by 30%, so it did work.
How did you get to that £21 billion figure?
Albie, what are you saying, sorry?
How did you get to that £21 billion figure?
It's estimated by a respected economist using national data sets showing what happens when you quit smoking. We have more evidence on smoking than any other subject. It's been around, it's used by the government. We're updating the figures at the moment and we'll be publishing new data shortly. But, make no mistake, cigarettes, unlike any other legal product, kill when used as intended. And this is an addiction of childhood. It's not a free choice. The only free choice is the first cigarette. After you smoke one cigarette, 2/3 of people go on to become daily addicted smokers. And the vast majority, as your New Zealand commentator was saying, adult smokers started as children.
But we can agree that that's bad, but it doesn't mean that Albie's wrong, because Albie's point is you're curtailing a freedom here without any obvious benefit.
I don't know what the obvious lack of obvious benefit is.
Albie, surely there will be fewer people smoking, Albie. That's the key thing.
Most smokers want to quit, and no adult smoker wants their children to take up smoking. There's strong support from this amongst the population, and it will completely revolutionise the whole perception of smoking, which sometimes is still being put forward by libertarians and by the tobacco industry as free choice when it's not. It's an addiction, and an addiction of childhood.
All right,
we need to stop children.
I am a social smoker. I've been at Conservative Party conference over this week, and I had many cigarettes. I probably won't smoke now for weeks. But the idea that I was not making a free choice when I bought a packet of cigarettes for £17, lit up the cigarette and then smoked it, is absolutely absurd. I will quit smoking one day. Smoking rates are already falling without this kind of government intervention going as far as banning. I think the sin taxes are fine. I think banning smoking inside is fine, but the idea that it should be totally banned in the same way that alcohol was banned in Prohibition-era America, which didn't work, by the way, is an absolute infringement on people's civil liberties.
You say an infringement, Albie, but isn't the issue that you are sadly much more likely to get cancer than somebody who doesn't smoke? And if you do, we'll all have to pay for you to get better.
Well, look, I question how those figures have been estimated that it costs £21 billion a year. We know that the tax revenue taken from tobacco is £10 billion because that is paid by every single smoker. We know those figures; they are watertight. I don't recognise that £21 billion figure. I believe the tax which is generated from the tobacco industry pays for the public services which are required for smokers in later life more than once, maybe even more than twice over. So I just don't accept that argument whatsoever.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, Deborah, that smokers are putting an awful lot into the government's coffers. If they're dying earlier, which may be tragic, they won't then be around in their 80s and needing other treatments. So maybe society gains.
No, society doesn't gain. The only people who put that forward is the tobacco industry, and they were forced to retract. Philip Morris published a report in, I think it was about 2000, about the Czech Republic, convincing the Czech Republic not to put taxes up because it was so beneficial, smoking. And they had to retract it because the data were just not justifiable. You know, this is still the leading cause of premature death, a major avoidable cause of perinatal mortality, you know, miscarriage, stillbirth, sudden infant death syndrome. And it's smokers who have to pay for the damage that's done to them, and it costs them a lot of money.
But weirdly, I don't know Albie's age, but let's say Albie's 35. He won't be affected by this policy at all. The biggest group of smokers aged 45 to 64, again, this policy won't touch them.
But it will, because actually, just as the debate on banning smoking in public places, which New Zealand went first on, we followed in England in 2007, led to reductions in smoking prevalence and reductions in smoking in the home, because the whole debate about how harmful smoking was reminded smokers why they needed to quit.
Albie.
And we'll see exactly the same here.
So
this is back-to-back media. We want to talk about this.
Hang on, Deborah. Albie,
do you think we should just ban everything that could possibly kill people? What would you say about alcohol? Alcohol is a leading cause of domestic violence, men beating their wives. Is there a case, in your opinion, therefore, to ban alcohol based upon the flimsy argument that you've made for banning smoking? Surely we should be banning alcohol as well. It's causes much more harm in society than tobacco does, doesn't it?
Well, that's just not true. Cigarettes are the only legal product.
I'm sorry.
Hang on, let her answer. Let's answer.
You're not letting me finish. Cigarettes are the only legal product which kill when used is intended. The public support regulation to encourage people to make the right choice. They are not anti the so-called nanny state, as people like you suggest. And that was shown by COVID. And actually, there does need to be tighter regulation of alcohol, but I'm not calling for a ban. And there needs to be regulation which actually discourages the use of high sugar, high fat, high salt products, which are also very bad for people. Okay. You want to discourage the use of products that are harmful, but cigarettes are not just harmful, they're lethal.
Thank you very much indeed, both of you. Deborah Arnott, Chief Executive of the campaign group Action on Smoking and Health, which really likes this policy. Albie Amankona doesn't. He's a financial analyst and conservative commentator, believes it infringes on his freedom.